Hey everybody, Real with Wes coming at you here talking about pursue wisdom, talking about day 4. Just going to share you some personal things I've learned about experiencing the wisdom of God versus my own carnality and stuff. The best position to be, I've found, personally, I've struggled with this. I still fight with things like this day to day. And I'm just sharing my experiences when I'm sharing, not trying to point out you should do this or that. It's just, if you get something from it, awesome. So I hope it encourages you, bring you some clarity. But the thing I've learned is wisdom flows best when it's not about me. What do I mean by that? It's not about self-serving. It's not about my self-centeredness. When I'm facing a situation throughout the day that I have to make a decision on, which comes through all the day, like so many of us experience life, I find when I'm bogged down and gridlocked is when I'm frustrated, when I start feeling self-pity, when I start feeling the victim mentality, and I start feeling the offense or the hurt or the frustration with someone, or why couldn't they do that, or the fear, definitely the fear, the hurt, and anger starts boiling over as a response. All the wisdom gets very toxic and tainted and doesn't flow very well, and the voice of God is very hard to hear and cluttered. So what I normally need to do so that wisdom will flow is, one, get out of myself and get honest that I'm inside my self-centeredness. Get honest that I am feeling afraid and self-preservation is kicking in. And all of a sudden, the wisdom that is there and present from God starts to become clear and starts to become untwisted. Because I can hear the wisdom of God when I'm in that self-centered place, first of all, and I can warp it, and I can control it, and I can manipulate it. Even if it's something I heard from God, my application will be completely tainted. And that always comes at the expense of somebody else. It always violates the love of God, is how I can recognize it, as kind of a blinking light. It's one of the ways I've recognized it. But when I get outside myself, the first place typically that wisdom will start is, you're being selfish. You're offended, you're hurt, you're afraid. The anger is coming from a place of fear. You're feeling self-preservation kick in. You're feeling self-pity. You're feeling sorry for yourself or the victim. And then you start coming up with these screwed up little reasonings trying to process it. Well, the reason, maybe this didn't happen, or they didn't do that, is God didn't want this, or God, all that little twisted, messed up thinking that's all about me and self-centeredness and taking care of and protecting myself. And I'm not talking about self-care. The self-care thing is it's a beautiful thing. You should take self-care, but it's been exploited and weaponized just to be an excuse to be just really mean to people, is what a lot of it is, and really selfish. And we have to know the wisdom of the difference in those two things. So definitely don't want to talk about running yourself in the ground, being violated. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the self-centered part. You know what I'm talking about, when it's like, man, I want it to be about me. I feel righteous in my own anger. I feel justified to be able to act in my foolishness. I feel the pride and the ego and the flex come up, and I feel like I have this creative way to respond. It's going to be really smart and really witty, but it's hurting everybody around me. That's the twisted wisdom I'm talking about. And I have to constantly watch myself. I have to guard my heart every day about that. I don't know about you, but I'm sharing what I go through in life. And each day I have to take that moment to pause and say, Wes, you got to get outside of that. Well, how do I get outside of that? Many times I start thinking about someone else and how to be a blessing to them. Not my selfish way, how to get something from them. How to simply just be nice to someone, to be loving towards someone. And it's not easy because I don't want to do it. If I'm being clear on this, I don't want to do it. I'm like, forget them. Don't bless them, God, or bless them off with a good old cuss word or something like that. And it's sometimes a struggle, but I know when I commit and I submit to that, and I submit to God in that moment, is what I do. And I drop my ego for a moment and humble myself ultimately. Back to that humility part. Pursuing wisdom is, if you haven't heard, the theme behind it is humility. But humbling myself. Man, every time the wisdom starts flowing. And it doesn't all just boom instantly. It starts flowing that way, but I start coming out of it. It's like the blinders start falling off. I start coming out of the fog. I start coming out of the intoxication of self-centeredness. Because self-centeredness, man, you want to talk about something that will warp your mind and make you completely impaired and drunk off yourself, is the ultimate intoxication. It'll do it. But when you come out, all of a sudden you find the relief of the negative emotions. See, there's a benefit to it. There's a blessing in it. And the blessing is, I'm not hurting, actually. There's healing that comes from it. There's the getting out of the painfulness of all the toxic things that are going on the inside of you, and the stress of it. You come out of it. and you live free. So how do we walk in wisdom? Humility, honesty with ourselves, that when we're in ourselves, and don't make it about us. Make it about wisdom to serve others, wisdom to help others, wisdom to be a blessing, man. And God just meets you right there. The grace of God flows right there. And man, your day goes so much smoother. And I promise you, you're going to see clarity for the decisions you need to make in front of you in life is what's going to happen. You may not have, I'll talk about this tomorrow, you may have it all the way to the end figured out, but you'll clearly see the very next step. And you'll come in that place of trust in God. God, I know the next step, and I trust you that you'll give me the next one. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Have a great day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.